Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dr. Glenn Vo, and I'm back with my friend J.W. Oliver. You guys know him. He was just here with the hair-on scanner, but we got a VIP, and I'm very proud to say VIP because I've learned so much from this doctor. It's Dr. Bruce Baird. I was gonna say practicing dentist, but Dr. Baird, I think you're retired now, right? Retired from clinical dentistry, not retired from working, but from clinical dentistry. Is that correct?
Well, it is correct for about 18 months, although I went in and saw a patient this morning. So I just to help a friend. So that was my deal.
So, again, like I said, for those who don't know who Dr. Bruce Baird is, I mean, he's a mentor to a lot of us, especially here in Nifty.
Well, if you don't know who Dr. Bruce Baird is, you may not be in dentistry, right?
That is true. That is true. I mean, he's one of the founders of the Productive Dentist Academy. And pretty much I've learned how literally everything I do as far as scheduling goes, I've learned from this man. I'm actually learning from him as far as like making my schedule for my, for when I go into my practice. I'll have to say this because Dr. Baird probably doesn't know this, but I pretty much work a couple of days a week, smack dab in the middle of the week. And I'm off on Fridays. I'm off on Mondays. I'm off on Tuesdays. And Dr. Baird, I want to tell you that my staff, they know what my hourly production, what I want, and they just keep it nice and tight. I just go in there. They know that if they keep me busy, I can't say anything. I'm just working. And then they're like, see you later, Dr. Vo. They love it when I do that. So Dr. Baird, I have to give you the credit there. I learned that from you.
Well, thanks. I used to love on Tuesday evening when I was leaving the office to say, you guys have a good weekend. And that was my favorite.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, one of the big reasons, obviously, that we wanted to bring you on is because, again, Dr. Baird, you've run just probably one of the most successful practices there. But again, you set up your practice and your work schedule to be very productive and very efficient, and so I want to talk to you about, again, both of you guys, about what's happening now, kind of like in the workforce, right? I mean, we're talking about adjustments in the hourly wage every year. The overhead seems like it's creeping up higher and higher. And I remember one of the things that you have told us at one of the lectures is that you want to be really productive, because if you're really productive, then you're not worrying so much about the overhead as long as you're doing that. But again, you want to keep in mind about overhead and staff pay and whatnot. So, Dr. Baird, I'm going to ask you straight up right now, with what's going on in this country and, wages going up all the time, what is a solo practice owner supposed to do when he's looking at the staff wages always going up every year?
It's going to be absolutely critical to be very efficient. That doesn't mean do things fast. It's just going to mean that, when you're in the practice, you can control your overhead costs, just what you were saying, by controlling your productivity and your collections. And we used to see averages in the 20, 22, 23% 30 years ago. And now we have doctors coming into Productive Dentist Academy and their team overhead is 32, 33%. And I'm just shaking my head. And so what we do is we just literally have to kind of change the thought process of the doc to say, okay, is this that I have too many team members, or is this that I'm not producing enough dentistry? And many times, Glenn, as you know, it comes down to just great communication skills with your patients, getting them to say yes to treatment, having good clinical confidence and competence so that you're not just treating one tooth at a time. And I think dentistry has really kind of fallen into that trap of the one tooth dentist. And I really think this more comprehensive approach to treatment planning helps drive overhead down. The new $15 an hour, if it ever shows up, minimum wage, well, that means a totally unskilled worker that goes to work at McDonald's is going to be making $15.
Yeah.
And in your own office, I have people that were making 18, 16, 20, but they're very skilled.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to drive those costs even up further, I believe. And we're going to see, you're either going to have to learn to deal with that as part of your overhead and take a hit of your own salary, which I don't recommend. Or you're going to have to learn how to communicate better with the patients, have great financial options for the patients to be able to do more dentistry, and then it really won't be as big an effect for those docs that change their mindset and change the way they think in this new paradigm or this new time. So those are my thoughts right off the top.
Well, I think that's amazing advice here. And J-Dub, I'm going to turn to you. You know, I mean, obviously, when things are rising costs, I mean, obviously, you know, in Nifty Thrifty, people are always asking, where can I get some gloves? Where can I get some masks? And it's like my glove price has doubled and all these different things. And yet, you know, reimbursements are about the same. And, you know, what you've talked about is just kind of being smarter there, right? Like, again, you know, it's not about like, you know, you want to have a lean and mean team. And that means when you have a lean and mean team, well, you got to have them doing things that matter, and the things that don't matter that you can outsource, you know, outsource out to a company like Support DDS to help your team members. And you've always said this, is that Support DDS is not here to replace your team. No, it's not.
Absolutely.
It's there to support it. So talk about like what you guys have done to really help some of these docs out in terms of supporting their team, not so much replacing their team, but supporting their team.
Yeah, you know, it brings up a lot of points that Bruce and I have talked about recently. I've talked with a lot of doctors about recently, and it's that you're trying to elevate your existing team. You're really trying to get them to do the work they want to do. You know, I love the fact that we have jobs that we don't want to do, and then we just have jobs we can't do. And I think we can fulfill that void for a lot of those. And I'm pretty sure there's not many, if any, dental offices where the office manager or anybody at the front staff says, hey, I'd like to be on the phone with the insurance company for 45 minutes on a verifications or an EOB call, right? Or yeah, I want to be just smiling and dialing for my hygiene recare. That's how I want to spend my day. I was talking to a small DSO yesterday, and he was telling us that they thought there was over 1,000 people that were past the recare point. And he goes, you know, we can just fill with what we have on this recare. So there's all kinds of areas where I think we can help them be efficient. And again, we really look at it as elevating your current team members and then being able to augment or handle the task and the daily work that's not getting done from, you know, whether it's recare verifications or your revenue cycle management, patient scheduling, whatever that is, we definitely can fill that niche. And absolutely, we can show you on paper the ROI pays for itself just by being more efficient.
Yeah. Well, one thing, if I can jump in, is, you know, I call it insourcing. You know, we started calling it insourcing because we're bringing in these people to help our team. You know, we're paying somebody. Most offices have one person that does their AR and their insurance. And they spend 73% of their time actually on hold with insurance companies and talking to insurance companies, and only 27% of their time actually doing collections. And I might be paying that person 60, 70 grand a year, 50, 60, 70, and they're on hold, you know, for about 40,000 of that. And, you know, the biggest problem that I've seen, and I know you see it, Glenn, but it's like, dentists complain a lot about their team, and oh my gosh, team issues, team problems, and that kind of stuff. You also have to pay matching Social Security for those people. You pay for their retirement, their insurance, whatever you do in your own personal practices. But with this, I can insource somebody to do those tasks at a much better margin. And I can't think of a better thing in my 41 years in dentistry to be insourcing the mundane tasks that your team is doing, that you're paying a premium for, and taking advantage of nifty thrifty deals all across the board, and learning how to be more productive. If you combine those things, what you're doing is, I mean, you're cooking with gas now. I mean, you're driving your overhead down. You're increasing your productivity. And the bottom line is you're increasing your profits to the practice. And that's what we call at PDA an investment grade business. You know, if you've really looked at all the deals that you do, Glenn, which I wish. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm retired, but I'm going, I want to buy one of those, just because I'm retired, because it's such a good deal. And the same thing with J-Dub. I'm like, we have two that we work with, and I got the opportunity to go over to Harare in Zimbabwe, and we're doing some mission work there, and also I wanted to go see what was going on. Unbelievable people.
Yeah.
They speak the King's English, and they're just amazing. They're college educated, and they really do a wonderful job. And they're trainable. You can work with them and tell them what you'd like for them to do for you and train them. And we've got two now that have been with us now at PDA for a couple of years, I think, JW. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. Just right at 2 years.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you that, Dr. Baird, that, you're actually speaking from experience. You've worked with teams that support DDS with PDA. And I'll tell you this, for those who've gone through PDA, they don't do everything they do is first class. Okay. If you've been to one of their events, everything they do is first class. So again, you're actually a client here. You actually have them work with your team at PDA.
Yeah. And they become family, which is really cool. I mean, it's like, and they do Zoom meetings, kind of like what we've become very used to Zoom, now in the dental world, but we've been doing Zoom with our team in Harare now for a couple of years, and in the mornings we check in but you're not paying us this matching Social Security. You're not worried about it. And one other thing that I think is critical, and I hear this all the time, I lost my insurance gal, or I lost my so-and-so, or over there, they've got 20 people that are all trained, and you don't miss a beat, and there's so many times where docs are going, what do I do? I got to find somebody who's got the skill, or I've got to find somebody who can do this or that. And I'm like, if you could go to insourcing with a place that has 20 people that are doing it, it's very simple. If that one person that happens to work with you happened to leave, which I haven't seen that happening, but if it did, you've got another person to back it up, another one. And to me, oh my gosh, I actually hated training team for the first 15 years of practice. And I loved training my team the last 25. I just loved it because I had a paradigm shift. Yeah. But if I had a chance to open up a new practice today, I would have much less team members that were actually in the facility, and all of the other things that could be done that I could insource where they weren't an employee. If they left, I wouldn't be paying unemployment benefits for. Yeah. That's what I would do. And I guarantee you, when I left practice, my team overhead was only 17.5%. And we had 23 team members, but we also produced a lot. Yeah. But if I was to go back in practice today, which there are people that have bets that say that I will do that, but I don't know. But I would have very few team, and it would be all about the patient. And it would be, I would let those other things go. I just really would. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Baird, I want to bring up something that you taught me years ago at PDA, and that you guys still teach, and that is having high productive spots and low productive spots, right? And so whenever I think about outsourcing, right, you think about your own practice, right? The low productive spots, let's say it's a crown seed or impression or whatnot. You want to delegate that to your team, right? You don't want to be doing that. You want to go on and you want to start doing those other implants. And then when I'm done doing the implants, you want to be walking out the door, and the team could be taking impressions or doing the post-op, and you're going on to the next one, right? And so again, like with Support DDS, it's more like, okay, you have your team members that, whether it's your treatment coordinator, whether it's your insurance person, whether it's your lead assistant, you want them to work with what's bringing in the revenue, case acceptance, talking to patients, getting on insurance, checking some emails or doing those things. That's a low productive thing. You want to shift that off to the outsourcing. So it's almost kind of like the same thing you taught at PDA.
That's why I was so excited when JW and I first started visiting, and we became friends. And it's funny, we have family that's together. We have common family that we didn't even know we had. But as soon as I saw that, it was kind of like the first time I ever went to John Coyce and I heard about risk factors. I never really thought about things the same way. When I went to hear, you go down the list of all the education, you just never think of things the same way. And when JW and I first talked, I was like, man, what a great opportunity for me to take a lot of stress and take it away. And obviously, increased stress means low productivity. Lower stress means high productivity. And I've been just tickled. Plus, I have to say, one of the things about global DDS or the whole program, 51% of their profits go to the ministry or go to helping people that are there. And to me, that was kind of like 1-2 buckle my shoe and I'm ready to go, and that just hit the nail on the head. And what you said just now is the perfect analogy to use.
So again, Bruce, I'm going to bring something up because again, I'm going to prove to you that I actually listened to you all these years, every single thing you told me. And I was telling you about, about my schedule. And I asked you about, man, should I bring on an associate? At that time, I was working like 5 days a week. I was working every single day. Right. Now, guys, I'm down to like 2 days. Right. And you told me something and I just looked at you like with the weird, like you were a crazy person, but you said, Glenn, that means you just got to work less. I'm like, what? Like, yeah. You working 5 days? Oh, you gotta cut down to 4 days and maybe 3 days. I'm like, how? Right. What are you talking about there? Yeah. Oh, you just need to tighten up your schedule and you just need to work less. And I promise. And I never forgot that. I remember thinking that, okay, Bruce Barrett is crazy. Let me go talk to somebody else. Come here, Vicky, or somebody. Come over here, right? But I actually believed in what you said, and I have to tell you, after all these years, you are right. You are right.
Thank you.
if you're grinding away and you feel like your practice is not where it needs to be, or you feel like you're getting burned out, it just means that you're working too many days, and you need to tighten up that schedule.
Yeah, and what's interesting, what you say there is, people fear tightening up the schedule. They feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be running behind. But my bet is that you actually found yourself having more time in the 2 days that you work than you used to have when you're working 5 days. And on top of that, you're actually more productive in the 2 days than you used to be in the 5 days. And so it's kind of like you get the best of both worlds. And we talk about that at PDA, doing good while doing good and trying to, I very rarely was ever late for lunch. I was very rarely late when I left at the end of the day. Whereas if I went back before I started doing these things, we would catch up during lunch and we would catch up at the end of the day. And by eliminating those things and increasing our productivity, all of a sudden we get that best of both worlds. We get time with family. And I'll be honest, I wish I would have had more time with my family that first 15 years because I just didn't understand this. And now it's wonderful because, like I was telling you before we came on live, and I talked to JW, that I've had 7 grandkids running around here, and I've been having a ball. We've got 13 grandkids, and we're just having so much fun, and I'm having so much fun with my own kids and with their kids. Matter of fact, one of my daughters said, Dad, it seems like you like the grandkids better than you like us. I said,
True story.
What's your point?
I tell that I ask my mom that all the time, and she doesn't mince any words. She says, yes, I do. But Dr. Beard, I want to bring this up to you. It's amazing how fast patients will accept your treatment when they know you're only in the office a couple of days, and the other days they got to go see the associate. It's amazing how fast they say, "Hey, Dr. Vo, can we just do that today? Can we do that right now? I don't want to wait. Can we do it right now? You don't want to see Dr. Olson? No, I'm ready. We can do it right now. Can you bring Kellen in here? I'm ready to pay. You'd be amazed when your schedule scarce how much more people want to do dentistry with you.
You're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. I love it. I love
So,
it.
so JW, again, we're talking about tightening up the schedule and whatnot. And I always thinking about, all the clients that you've worked with. Obviously, you worked with Dr. Barrett, you work with Dr. Nikky Green, so many people. With the clients that work with Support DDS, how many times, you probably get a lot of these stories where they come back and say, you've really freed up and made my team more productive. Talk about those things. Talk about some of the things, the ways that you guys have changed the way all these clients, run their practice.
That's interesting because a lot of people will, the biggest blockade or obstacles we usually see is from the management. They believe that their job is being either going to be done away with, they're going to replace me, they're trying to get rid of me. And we're so very clear that is not the goal. Now, if you can get the doctor over the fact that there's a cost associated with it, but that your ROI is multiple times over that, sometimes it's like, yes, there's a cost to it, but no, there's not a cost to it because you're going to save this money, just like what you guys were talking about. And I think when you can get them past the point of understanding the cost and get the hurdle of the team, their team being on it, your in-office team getting it and grasping a hold of it, they're the happiest. The doctor's happy, yes, but usually it's the front staff that's the most. They're like, I don't have to do that anymore. I'm not making those hygiene recare calls. I'm not doing those weights on hold. I'm letting somebody else handle some of those collection issues that just take time as well. So the ones that are at first somewhat of the naysayers usually become your biggest fan because they take all that off themselves as well.
J-Dub, I'm going to add this, and this is true story. And I just led that. Or before you said that, what I just talked to Dr. Barrett about. When Dr. Barrett said that I needed to work less, I looked at him like he was crazy, right? I'm like, work less, that means less money. I got stuff to pay. I got bills. At that time, I had student loans and all those different things. And he says, Glenn, you just need to tighten up your schedule and drop down to 4 days. And eventually you're going to go down to 3 days and you're going to tighten everything up. And you're going to end up being happier. You're going to end up being more productive. Your staff's going to like you even more. And at first I'm like, I didn't get it. And it's almost like, Jada, what you were talking about there, it's like, a lot of people probably think that too, like outsourcing, the team's like, oh, they're going to do this and that. But actually it helps them to become more productive.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're not there till 5, 6 o'clock at night trying to get their internal work caught up because they've been on hold all day or making all these outbound calls. And I will say this too, Glenn, probably the two biggest factors that we have to set ourselves apart. There's a lot of companies doing insurance verifications. There's a lot of outsourcing in the world, and they're doing task oriented. And what Bruce said just a minute ago is really key. Number one, these people work for you full time. I want to stress that you're not speaking to 8, 10 different people. You work with the same person every day. But more importantly, when you embrace them as part of your team, as Bruce was mentioning, I know they used to do their huddles. I think it was on Wednesday. I know Dr. Green does hers on Wednesday. I think y'all do a daily huddle at PDA. And they brought them in on the Zoom calls, and they literally become part of their culture. And if you'll do that and see them as a team member, it's way more productive. If you see this as just getting rid of some tasks that I don't want to do, yes, that works. But if you'll integrate them into your office, they don't get stuck just doing one or two things. Glenn, as you know, you can end up with somebody doing many of these tasks, but also like a really top quality executive assistant who's handling a lot of administrative things for you that you never would have thought. We've got people that they do their travel for them. They book their airfare. They take care of hotels or making return personal.
Well, Bruce, I'm gonna ask you this, Bruce, because I think that this is something that you can really relate to what JW was saying, and that is, when you treat a team member like family, like a valued resource, they end up being more loyal. They end up working, because at the end of the day, whenever I hear people about leaving certain jobs, it's rare. Believe it or not, it's rare because of money. My newest hygienist, she's been with me for a year. She didn't leave because I was paying her more. She left because she felt like she wasn't getting the extra training, the extra mentorship that she needed. And so what JW was saying is, don't look at these team members, the team members that support DDS as someone that, oh yeah, I'm just going to give them these tasks and that's it. You embrace them as a team member, and and that's what makes it different. So Dr. Beard, talk about that. Why it's so important to get that team member, that culture together.
Sorry about my puppy. He's just went barking for the front door, but we probably got a delivery of a package. But one thing that I really found to be amazing, first of all, I thought people in Africa, they're doing this, and I'm going, okay, they're in a banana hut somewhere with a holding a screen trying to get internet. I showed up at their offices, and first of all, it's in a high-rise building, office building. It is got sliding doors as you walk up, and it is as nice as any building you'll see in a major city. And we went up, and the two employees that we had hired, they had gifts for us, because and it was like they were family. And the same thing in our office. As I began to learn more about my own team and their families and their kids, and I quit worrying about once I learned business, I was able to now focus on people, and I think so many times there's that confusion about business, and you got a lot of debt, you got student loans, you've got a practice debt, and it's hard to get those interpersonal relationships that you want with your team because you're so deadgum stressed out that it's hard. But then once you learn the business, and that's really what we do at PDA now, we really focus in the business, get you stress levels of your business. Yes, you're going to be successful. And then the team, you start taking great care of the team. And then the team becomes family. And then, we brought in the insourcing from Harari, and it's just they're part of our family. And so I think, again, we said it a little bit ago, high stress, low productivity, low stress, high productivity. And productivity has nothing to do with working and working fast. It has to do with taking care of people and being in relationship with them. And it's not about the speed, because a patient, if you're in relationship with them, there's a great chance they're going to say yes to the 5 crowns that you recommend and not say, well, what does my insurance cover? They'll still ask that. But instead of saying, well, can we just do one? They say, okay, let's get it all done, because of the relationship they've built with you as the doctor. And so I fully endorse what JW is doing from a lot of different reasons. But it is all about family and taking care of your team.
I love that. I mean, Dr. Beard, you dropped so many amazing pearls right there, and I'm going to double back to you because I'm going to put you on the hot seat. I got an important question I'm going to ask you concerning just like what we're facing in dentistry right now, right? Like I'm going to just kind of rib you a little bit. I was like, I think you slid out of the chair at the right time. That's what I'm going to tell you. I'm just going to joke around there, but I want to come back to you about that. But JW, I want to go over a couple of things, because again, I want everyone who's watching right now. Look, there's a lot of big fans. We had Dr. Green on, who absolutely, and she is probably one of the most talented dentists in not Dallas-Fort Worth, not Texas. I'm talking about in the country. Her and her husband are just absolutely amazing. You guys are hearing what Dr. Baird's saying. But JW, I want to just kind of address a couple of things, because I want people to understand it's all about setting the expectations. When people think about, all right, well, I want to get Support DDS, I want to bring a team member in to work with us, right? I want you guys to remember, and JW, I want you to emphasize is you're bringing a team member in that is like your team, and you got to work with them and help them level up. So JW, talk about that, because a lot of times I think people come with the wrong ideas, and maybe they get upset, or maybe they're just confused, but it's not like different types of companies. So talk about exactly how the process works when they come and they say, okay, I want to get a team member from Support DDS.
Well, first of all, if you're listening to this and you just threw out some names there, number 1, Glenn Vo, number 2, Bruce Baird, Bob Leedy, Nikky Green, these are some of the highest producers in the business, and they all use insourcing. They all have this insourcing in their office. So if you're wondering how to be a little more successful, I always say, look at the people that are successful and figure out what they're doing, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So people are using this that are at a higher level. But in terms of what we do, it's very simple. We actually pre-train. We've got a class that goes through. usually about 20 a month. We pull from a group of probably 700. We narrow it down to what we believe is the top 20. We put them through a dental training program. They get a very good basis of the lingo, of the dental office lingo. They also get their HIPAA certification. And then so when you go to interview somebody, so Glenn, if you called me and said, hey, I want to move on this program, we could probably be interviewing live on Zoom tomorrow, or let's call it Monday or Tuesday. You could say, you know what, I select this person to work for me. So literally by Wednesday, you could have somebody working full time in your office. Now, we get them trained ready for your office, but we do say that there is a curve on the other side to spend some time with them, to integrate them into your culture, because you're not just saying do this one repetitive task over and over. You're truly bringing them in. Just like if you bring somebody into your front office, you don't just put them in the chair and say, get after it, right? There's a training process involved. And so if you embrace that, it's just a no-brainer. And then as Bruce pointed out, and I want to reemphasize this, and Glenn, we've had some good conversations about our faith. We really believe that this is a ministry, number one. We put a lot of effort into making that well known that we're a Christian kingdom-based ministry. We're not ashamed of that at all. And that 51% of our profits go back. And the things we're doing, Bruce's visit. So Bruce went firsthand to Epworth, where we saw handicapped children, of mothers with handicapped children who didn't have any support, and they just had that joy of the Lord. And Bruce could, I think we spent most of the 30 minutes while they were singing and joyous. We spent most of the time crying, trying to figure out, where does their joy come from? So you get to help inadvertently. You're helping people there, but then you're also helping ministry. So I hope I didn't go too far there, Glenn.
No, you didn't.
I love that.
I mean, I love that. I love that. And I'll tell you what, in this group, I mean, we don't hold back here, right? So I love that, JW, that you disclosed that. And I want everyone to understand this, because again, is there going to be people saying like, well, this didn't work out for you? Well, you have to understand what you're getting into. When you hire a new team member, right? And Dr. Baird, you can support me here. When you hire a new team member, you don't just go like, here's a manual, shove it in their arms and just go, right? No, you don't do that. Okay. You didn't do that as a dentist. You didn't do that as a dental student. You didn't do that as an associate. Well, maybe some associates, but the place I worked at, my mentor was really nice. He really showed me all these tricks and everything. So the thing is it's the same thing. It's an extension, right? Now, you may be thinking like, what are the advantages? The advantages are this. When I was snowed in Dallas, Fort Worth, my team member was still working, right? And again, they're there to support you. So do you have to train up this team member? Yes, you do. Just like how you do in your practice. If you don't train your team member correctly, you're setting them up to fail. If
Absolutely.
You don't train these team members correctly, you are setting them up to fail again. So is JW and his team going to be there to give you the best practices? Of course. Are they going to give you all the resources? Of course. But again, JW and his team does not work in your practice. Maybe you have some systems that you need to clear up. If you do, go see Dr. Baird at Productive Dentist Academy. So, Dr. Baird, I first of all, I want you to comment to that, and I have another special question for you. But I want you to comment about team members not being trained adequately. Talk about how you onboarded a new team member. And again, most of your team has been with you for so long because of the leader you are and the practice you have. But when you did have a new team member, how did you get them on board? Oh, I think, Dr. Baird, your mic is off.
He's muted.
Oh, is he? Oh, hold on. Okay, there you go. There you go.
Am I back?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So talk about onboarding new team members.
I honestly think that I need to do an entire course on this because it's so critical. And the reason being, again, I used to hire people and just expect them. I hired you. You're an assistant. You ought to know what's going on. And again, that was when I didn't really understand my business. But once I did, then I realized that, and that would cause stress. And every time I had stress, it just killed me. So what I decided is that anything that caused me stress or anything that caused the team stress, I call that a training opportunity. And so what I would do is I wouldn't go, oh, I can't believe you're doing this, or I can't believe you're doing that. What I would do is I would put it on my phone. I want to talk to them about this in our team meeting. It's not going to be a direct attack on any individual. But what I also found when I started hiring particular new person, for maybe I usually worked out of 4 chairs, and I had 4 treatment coordinators, and I lost 1 treatment coordinator. And it would have been easy to have the office manager, go interview people and do all that. And, maybe I go up and look at the best 2 or 3, but I don't do that. I probably didn't hire somebody for the last 20 years I was in practice. Why? Because I would say, okay, we think that this person's a good person, my office manager. I would say, we're going to do a working interview. And we would do a working interview, and at lunch, the 3 team members that would be working with that person would go to lunch with them, and they'd find out all the nitty-gritty details. And then they'd come back and they would say, thumbs up, she fit perfect, or he fit perfect, or there's just a lot of little issues, stuff you're not going to ask in an interview, but stuff that they're more than happy to share at a lunch table at Mi Familia or one of the restaurants around here. And so, but what also was interesting is early on, they would hire somebody, and then my 3 team members that hired the 4th, they would start complaining a bit. Well, it was very easy for me at that point to go to them and say, here's the problem here. You 3 are the ones that approved this. Are you spending your time training them the way you want it to be done? You know how I want it to be done. You've been with me 30, 20, and 10 years. And so I put it back on their lap, and they said, no, we're not. It's on us. And some of these people, maybe that person didn't work out. That's okay. We don't all make great, decisions every time. But it allowed us to have team members that had been with us 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, because everybody became family. They know each other. They know birthdays. They know kids' birthdays. And I just think, that's so important to me, to have the team doing the work, because when I let them do those things, what inherently happens is they end up with organizational interest. They now believe in the practice. They know that they're a part of the success. And when they're part of the success, productivity goes up. It just goes crazy. And so that's my answer to that. That's what we do.
I love that. And guys, if you're looking into working with Support DDS, well, again, there's a lot of people that have been really successful with them. Take that tip from Dr. Baird. Have your team train that new team member so that they can buy into their success, right? And also remind them that the success of this new team member from Support DDS is going to help you become more successful. It's going to help everybody on the team more successful. So I think that that's really important, because again, it's my strong opinion that I think the issues that people have had, if they have had, that's very rare, but if they had it with Support DDS, it goes back to the training. How are you training your team? Yep. Do you need support there? Because I will tell you this, if someone is having an issue and they need support and they went to JW, and if it was something JW can fix, but he knew that Bruce could fix it, he's the type of guy that's going to tell you need to talk to Bruce Baird, right? Yep. Or he's the type of, you're having this issue. Maybe you need to just message Dr. Vo. Maybe he can give you something there. That's the type of guy you're working with there. So, 100%. Man, I can't believe this went by so fast. But before we leave, I'm gonna put both of you guys on the hot seat. Okay. so JW, I'm gonna go with Dr. Baird first. Gives you time to think. Okay, Dr. Baird, sharp. He can think on his feet. So Dr. Baird, okay, and this is going to be for both of you guys, okay? Now, obviously, we just went through something that I know it's never happened in my lifetime. I'm pretty sure it's never happened in your lifetime. Something like the pandemic, where everything was shut down. People were scared to do things. Heck, people are still scared, right? And there's still people scared to go into dental practice, right? So Dr. Baird, and then also JW, if you had a business right now and you're going through this, so Dr. Baird, you're back, you're starting up again, and we're going through this, and people are scared. They don't want to come in. Dr. Baird, what would you do? What are the 2 or 3 things you would do to just jumpstart the practice again?
Well, I think the most important thing here is, perception is reality. With a virus like this, I mean, who knows where you get it from? I've already had it. I've recovered from it, but where did I get it? I have no idea. But to know, I would put the word out through my Facebook groups or through my, I would make sure that everybody in the community knew all of the additional new things that we were doing to protect the patient. And I would let my team know these are all the things that we're doing to protect you as a team. And I think those are the two things. I mean, we knew that there would be pent-up demand, and it has shown true that, yes, there was pent-up demand. There was a lot of people that needed to get to see the dentist but couldn't. Yeah. But as you go through that process, and even putting out videos to the community that says, this is a patient who just left, and I just want to tell you, oh my gosh, they're sterilizing everything. And, because you're not going to ever sterilize everything to where you're not going to catch that virus. Yes, there are things you can do, reduce splatter, do all those. But I want the word to be out that we're doing everything we possibly can to protect that. Now, I will flip this over and I'd say I do the same thing when there's not a pandemic.
Yeah.
I do that to tell people how amazing our new technology is, how amazing our office is, how amazing our new procedures that we're doing. Why? Because perception is reality. If they believe you're the best, then a lot of the fears are allayed, and that would be my answer to that.
I love that. Okay, so JW, I mean, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to follow up to something amazing like that Bruce there. But again, there's a practice owner, they're going through this and they're just wondering, okay, how do I get ramped up again? What's your advice as just a businessman who has multiple successful businesses, who's worked in probably so many different situations? What would you give to, let's say, a client of yours? They're like, man, I'm really scared about this. I don't know. I've never been through this before. What kind of advice would you give to him or to her?
Well, I don't think I can beat Bruce's definition there, but that acronym, fear, false evidence appearing real. You've heard it. It's so true. Fear stifles us. Fear freezes us. Fear makes us inactive, and we start to regress, and we don't look at opportunities. And we've seen a lot of that. We've seen a lot of dental practices that have gone under. We've seen a lot of dental practices that are teetering. But at the same time, how can we have hundreds and thousands of dental offices who are just flourishing, right? Yeah. I heard last night Jensen Franklin spoke at a conference, a pastor, and he said he was talking about, there's a verse about lions being in the street, and he said, go chase those lions. He said, go out in the front yard and go chase those lions. People were saying, what if there's lions in the street? He's like, well, go chase them. And I think that's where that falls into for me, is look at these pandemics as an opportunity, because there's lots of people that are flourishing, and you got to look at yourself and say, hey, am I all tucked up and huddled up in a corner over this thing, or am I getting out and beating the streets and looking for ways like Nifty Thrifty, where you can save on hundreds of items? Are you looking at what Bruce is doing with Productive Dentist, or with Abella, or Compassion Finance, or and then for our business, Support DDS? What can I do to make my practice more efficient? Because these have been tough times. How do I hunker down? How do I get to that 17% staff overhead, as Bruce mentioned, and just have a win-win? So I'd say take this opportunity and just go chase those lines.
I love that. That's amazing advice. And I think that I think we can all agree that if there's one thing that we've learned from this pandemic, is to be grateful for what we have.
Amen.
Right? I mean, obviously, if things are a little slow, you're worried. Hey, look, you're still around. You still have people. For me, I'm lucky. I still have parents that still nag me about the different things. And I'm very grateful. Hey, my wife still nags me, and my kids are still nagging. I actually appreciate the nagging even more now. So guys, if you're listening to us right now, you're actually blessed beyond measure, right? You're blessed beyond measure if you can hear us. So, before we jump off here, JW, again, we talked about Support DDS, and Bruce talked about what he did with Support DDS. Talk about the Nifty deal, but for those who are, hopefully you guys have a little bit more clarity now. Obviously, I brought JW before with some of his team members, but now hopefully you guys have more clarity of how it can help you. But talk about the Nifty deal before we jump off here.
Yeah, you give us a call. Talk to any of our team members that are our team members that are able to help, Brenda or Rob or lender, any of them that are out there and available, we've not only got people who are ready to go to work, but we do offer $1,000 off to the Nifty folks. So you can take that off the price of your first 2 months. 500 off the first, 500 off the second. I'm sorry, 500 off third, 500 off the second as well. So, we really stress that take advantage of that discount, and we offer it right here to Nifty. And so come get signed up. No contracts. Let me also say that, just like the Huron scanner with no fees, there's no contracts. You got a 30-day out at any time. If we're not going to hold your feet to the fire for something that your team didn't embrace or you didn't embrace. So we do offer that to you, that you can opt out at any moment, no long-term contracts. And we'll send you a free book.
Oh, I love it.
About how to elevate your team, trim your cost, and grow your practice. So happy to send you a little information. It does a pretty good outline about how insourcing works. We'd love to send you one as well.
With JW always bringing the value, but I want to say, JW and Dr. Baird, thank you so much for joining. For those who watch, thank you so much for tuning in. And I promise you, I know a bunch of people just messaged me. They're like, you need to bring Dr. Baird back on more often. Well, here's the thing. I promise you, the next time I'm down in Mexico, I will hunt him down, and we'll do something from the beach. Okay, actually, he's again, Dr. Baird, Productive Dentist Academy. He's done a lot for my career. He at one time I was working 5 days a week, and he said I was working too much, and I took his advice, and now I'm down to 2. So I'm Dr. Baird, I'm going to be joining you down in Mexico soon as well. So
Glenn, when is the summit down in Mexico? I need to go ahead and make my airfare recommendation.
We'll let you know.
We're all in.
The uniform is shorts, okay? No scrubs, okay? You just wear shorts, okay? But Dr. Baird, thank you so much. JW, thank you. And guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all later.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks.